I want to begin by just saying thank you. Thank you for our dear dignitaries. Thank you very much, Vice Mayor. Thank you, as I'm going to call you up in a moment. Thank you, Cassandra, for always being here for us. And thank you, Kevin Burns. And I also want to take a moment, there are the figures that sit up on front, and then they each have an amazing staff which makes things happen. So I do want to say a very special thank you to Chanel for putting everything together. Also, I want to give my heartfelt condolence and comfort to a very dear friend, Christine, who has always helped us. Thank you so much. And God willing, we will be dedicating tonight's candle of peace that Councilwoman Cassandra is going to be lighting. I'd like to dedicate that in memory of your father. I want to just share with you a message, a real important message about Chanukah. You see, the story of Chanukah has two parts. There is the violent part. There was a war that took place. The Syrian Greeks they have conquered Israel, and they forced to have an idol in the Holy Temple, and that led to a war that broke out. And in that war, lives were taken. And then there's the second part of Chanukah, which is the miracle of the oil. They found oil that should have only lasted for one day. Because it was a 3-day travel to where they would make the oil, the day to make the oil and the 3 days to come back, they wouldn't have new oil until 8 days from when they entered the Holy Temple, before they were able to set people out. And the miracle was that the oil lasted for 8 days. My teenage kids tell me that the modern day version of that holiday is that when your phone battery has only 1 bar, but it lasts for 8 hours. That's how they interpret this holiday today. But I want to share with you what's important to me. You see, very often in history, nations celebrate victories of war. We had an enemy, they rose up and they attacked us, and we overcame them. The holiday of Chanukah is not about the victory of the war. Most Jewish people in school would not even be able to tell you any details of that war. Because ultimately speaking, when the Egyptians were drowning in the times of Moses in the sea, after the sea split for the Jewish people, and then it came crashing down on the Egyptians, our sages tell us that the angels began to sing praise. And then the Talmud tells us that God, so to speak, snapped at the angels. How dare you? What, you think the Egyptians are not my children? You think just because they behaved badly, it doesn't hurt me that they're dying? Why would you be singing praise when I have to annihilate people who are my children and my creation? And thus, the true way of God is to never celebrate even the victory of war, even when the victory of war is the victory of the good over the evil. Because ultimately speaking, every life that's taken is the life of one of God's children. Whether they are a terrorist, an evil person, or a righteous person, if the person is alive, it's because God has created them and God gives them life. So from the Jewish perspective, there is only one true celebration, and that is when we can transform darkness into light. If we have to annihilate darkness, that is not a holiday. Yes, it brings peace to people, but ultimately speaking, from God's perspective, this is not a holiday. A holiday will only take place when we can turn enemies into friends, darkness into light, coldness into warmth, hatred into love. So I want to share with you Most people know the name of the holiday is Chanukah. And why is it called Chanukah? Because the word Chanukah means inauguration. It was the inauguration of the temple. We were able to re-inaugurate it. What most people don't know is that the word Chanukah also comes from the word chinuch. The word chinuch means education. And I will share with you, we need to have strong armies. We need to have armies that will protect democracy, protect the life of each and every one of our citizens here in America, there in Israel, and in every other country in the world. However, please know, peace will never be found upon the victory on the battlefield. It will be found in the education system of our classrooms. Until we don't educate our children not to see gender, color, lifestyles, until we can teach our children that when the tyranny of Egypt was drowning, God said, "Don't you dare sing." Because this, my dear friends, was a failure. We couldn't save them. Until our children don't understand that God has no grandchildren, God has no adopted children. God only has 7 billion children. And each one of them have to be brought back home into love and peace and kindness. That is the only way to